so excited to be here. This is actually the farthest east I've ever traveled, so I'm really excited to actually be here with you today, and I hope you're going to really enjoy my talk. I'm going to talk about increasing your conversion rates. We've developed a methodology that I'll take you through. Hopefully you'll take some actionable insights so that you can apply it to your own programs. So a little bit about me. I am the queen of CRO. I've been doing conversion rate optimization now for 12 years. I've done so much A/B testing, ran thousands of A/B tests, so I've certainly earned the title of queen of CRO. And I'm also the mother of 4 children, the youngest of which is kind of like a mini 𝐈𝐺𝐲. And if you forgot who 𝐈𝐺𝐲 is, you could see kind of the similarities between my child hugging the cat and what 𝐈𝐺𝐲 does to animals. So let's get right into it. I have a lot of slides to get through. Conversion rate optimization is not easy. And a lot of times when people start working on it, they think, hey, this is super easy. I can totally do it. So you get yourself ready. You're prepped up. You're going to go into the fighting ring, and you're so excited. You could totally do this. So you put together your first test. You're ready to launch it. This is going to be super easy. And then wham. You're just shocked. Where are my increases in conversion rates? Where are the amazing results that I always hear about? And the reality is right now, we're always looking for those, best practices. What's going to help me increase my conversion rates immediately, right? We want it now. But the reality is we can't have everything now. It takes a lot of time and effort in order to develop a solid conversion rate optimization program. And it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. The reality is you go online, you search for conversion rate optimization, and you read articles like this, where from one single A/B test, they were able to increase their conversion rates, 529%. When you hear that kind of thing, you're like, wow, I can totally do this, right? Or for example, an orange button changed conversion rates 86%. This is so easy. Anybody can do that, right? Anybody can see those, amazing, amazing conversion rates. But is that really the truth? I mean, when we really look at it, Google reports that only 10% of A/B tests that are launched actually result in, an increase in conversions. Optimizely, that's a kind of a large testing engine, they also report that only 25% of the tests that are launched on their testing engine result in an increase in conversion rates. VWO, another testing engine, says that only 12% of tests that are run on that specific platform result in an increase in conversion rates. So you're thinking, wait, why is there kind of this data confusion? Why do we see these amazing case studies about 529% increase and 86% increase, but then the reality is very different than that? So there's a couple of reasons. Number one is it could be that these are just outliers. Once in a while, you do launch a test and you see amazing increases. But most of the time, when you're launching an A/B test, you need to run it for a specific length of time. You need to also be, make sure you reach kind of a statistical significance. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see those results. So that's, in most cases, those are the reasons why A/B tests don't perform. So we developed a methodology called the SHIP method. It looks very, very simple, but the devil is in the details, right? Each one of these is kind of a process that you have to kind of really work through in order to see those 25%, 35% increases in conversion rates. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the lessons that you can learn from this process. In this day and age, a long time ago, a lot of companies were always worried about the big fish, right? The big fish, they were going to gobble up all the small companies. And this isn't entirely not true today. You have the conglomerates like, Amazon that are definitely overtaking a lot of the competition. But if you're agile enough, and that's what this kind of testing program, CRO program teaches you, then you're going to be able to outrun kind of the competition in general. So the reason why I kind of emphasize experimentation, I don't condone just saying that conversion rate optimization equals testing. Definitely not. There's a lot that goes into conversion rate optimization, and you shouldn't test everything. There's that whole saying like, A/B test it all. And if you have somebody in your office that's telling you, we should test this and we should test that and we should just throw things at the wall and hopefully something will stick, then that person's definitely somebody that shouldn't be in your organization, because that doesn't work. But at the same time, obviously, when you have an Amazon.com, they have a large enough set of traffic that comes into their website. They have so many different pages, so they can run a lot of experiments. And they have a team dedicated to experimentation. They're not just throwing things at the wall. There's always some sort of research and some sort of reason why they're launching different tests. But if you do run many A/B tests, you're able to see kind of a really big difference in the performance on the site. The one thing that everything always comes down to is that customer, right? Providing the customer experience. Everybody knows the Salt Bae, right? He became very, very famous, internet sensation. Everybody was watching his videos. But what was it about what he offered? Actually, if I spent almost 5 years in Istanbul, Turkey, and a lot of the restaurants there provide a similar thing where they have kind of like a show that they put on. It's all about providing that experience, because that's what people are going to be able to walk away from and remember, I love that restaurant. Because nowadays, we're in the era of commoditization. You go into any store, you look at any type of product, everything looks the same. You remove the label, it all looks the same. Right? So if you're not providing your visitors with a really unique experience that they're going to remember, then you're certainly going to just be like anything else, all the rest of the competition. So you kind of want to make sure that's what you're giving your visitors. You're giving them that experience. And the way that you're going to be able to innovate and provide that experience is through conversion rate optimization and experimentation. So it starts with testing. It starts with fixing, of course, all the UI, UX issues that you have on your website. And then it takes a lot of collaboration in order to really reach what that big win is. They talk about this big win, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Facebook. They're always testing, and they're trying to get to that one test that's going to be kind of like their home run, where they're going to really be able to kind of see those amazing results. So lesson one that you should really think about when you're trying to optimize the experience of your visitor is it's not about template tweaking. What does this mean? Again, we talked about this example in the beginning when it comes to kind of changing the color of the CTA, and that's going to give you an 86% increase. I can just assure you that that's not the case. That will not happen. You will not see 86 and 96% increase because of a change of a color of a CTA. It's not significant enough for the visitor for that increase to happen on your website. We do a lot of training when it comes to conversion rate optimization. So we're going to go into these large organizations that already have the team, but they don't know what to do and how to start. So I was giving a training, and so somebody came up to me after the training, and they're like, well, I thought you were going to give me like I have to do XYZ immediately after I leave. Like this is like a checklist of everything that I could do to really improve the experience of the visitor. And so I told her, I'm like, that's basically exactly the opposite of what this training is all about. The training, and conversion rate optimization is about your specific visitor. I can't tell you you need to do XYZ. You need to discover exactly what XYZ is for your particular visitor. And what we've seen is that best practices, when they're implemented, they often fail. You're always looking for repeatable, sustainable growth. That's what you want to achieve with any type of conversion rate optimization program that you're running. So any typical conversion rate optimization program, it has the qualitative research, the quantitative research. You prioritize the different areas that you found. You put some sort of hypothesis together, and then you test, right? And so for any agency, then there's like kind of a lot of prayer, like, oh God, I hope my variation wins, right? But if you're looking, remember what I said was it's all about kind of the devils in the details. You want to make sure that each and every single one of these particular areas is something that you're focusing on, you're making sure that you're paying attention to, and each one of them is a process by themselves. And when you implement these processes on your website, you're going to be able to generate, again, it's that incremental. Once in a while, you'll have like an amazing test that performs, but you're kind of looking at generating repeatable, sustainable increases in your conversion rate. Lesson 2 is you want to know the customer as much as possible. So at the beginning of the brink of the Industrial Revolution in the US, in New York City, what did they do? They built a lot of skyscrapers. So when they built these skyscrapers, of course, you don't want people to kind of run up to whatever floor it is just by going on the stairs. You want to put in some elevators so that they can get up to where they need to get to. But people were getting fed up with the elevators. It was very exhausting. You had to sit there crunched in with like a zillion people because there was one elevator for a single skyscraper. And it just took a lot of time to get to where you needed to go. So they asked people, hey, what should we do to help this experience of the elevators or the skyscrapers? So people responded with, of course, you need to go ahead and build more elevators in the skyscrapers. So, they went back to the drawing board, but they said, this is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars if we're going to install more elevators in these skyscrapers. So what they did was they provided a solution that they satisfied people to a certain extent, and at the same time, they weren't spending millions of dollars, and they just put a mirror in. And that's why you go to a lot of elevators today, and there's a mirror. The reason is because it gives the sense that when you're going into that elevator, it's a lot bigger than it actually is. And at the same time, it gives a chance for people to be able to stare somewhere and not necessarily have to look at the ground because there's an a mirror in place. So the point of what I'm trying to say is that, in general, is a lot of people, when you ask them questions about what they want, they're going to give you kind of like that top-of-mind answer. They're not going to really dig deep and tell you exactly what they really want, right? They're going to give you whatever comes to mind. So one of the biggest kind of marketing fails of all time was I don't know if you guys know the company, I'm sure you guys do, Heinz Ketchup. They launched a campaign in, I think it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they had colored ketchup. Green ketchup, purple ketchup, orange ketchup. And they had a focus group of moms, and they asked them, what do you guys think of this? And the moms were raving, this is amazing, we're going to buy it, we love it, our kids are going to love it. So then they actually pushed this product to market, and nobody bought the product. Who wants snot-looking, ketchup on their hot dog? Not many people. So it was a major fail for them. But the point of it is that sometimes when you ask those surface questions, people are going to give you the answer that they think you want to hear, not what actually is bothering them and what the actual experience is like. So you have to kind of pry and really kind of figure out that subconscious. What's really happening in their mind? What is really exhausting them? So we always have like this perception of how we think visitors behave. It's like everybody talks about the funnel. Visitors are going to go through, the awareness phase, and then they're going to be a little bit more informed about the product, and then they're going to actually end up buying, right? This is what we all kind of see all the time. In any type of marketing talk, people discuss the funnel. But what's the reality? I think we all know this, that visitors don't behave that way. Visitors actually are sporadic, and especially in this day and age, they go from one platform to the next. They're coming in from different sources of traffic. So it's a very confusing type of experience. And it really doesn't give us a lot of clarity, because in the end, we need to understand who is that visitor that's coming to my website? Who are they? And I need to understand exactly who that target market is so I can understand their needs and be able to address all of their concerns through my website and provide them with the experience that they're looking for. So when it comes to packaging quality, when it comes to customer service, when it comes to the content on your website, when it comes to anything, it always comes down to that customer. So if I don't understand who they are, then any type of initiative that I'm running, anything that I'm doing, I'm not going to be able to succeed. Because, again, ultimately what we're trying to provide is not the regular experience. We're trying to give them something that they're always going to remember, a memorable experience so they'll come back more and more. Remember, we're not going for just a single conversion. We're going for that lifetime value where they're going to be able to come back to our organization and purchase more and more. So if I want to conduct qualitative research, this is going to help me kind of get into the head of my visitor as much as possible, really understand what they're thinking, what's bothering them, how can I really provide them with the experience that they're looking for. Number one is, we always say, in any type of activity that you're doing when it comes to conversion rate optimization, you need to plan the research. Don't go into it blindly. Don't just throw things at the wall. Make sure you're planning and understanding exactly what your goal is. Then you, of course, conduct the research. That takes time. And then, of course, it's what am I learning from all of this research that I've conducted? Am I just, running different surveys and polls, calling up my customers, and then I have nothing to take away from it? Then I'm really just wasting a lot of time. And there's different methodologies that you can use to kind of get into the head of your visitor. I can, of course, conduct different interviews. I can run different focus groups, usability tests, and surveys or polls. So, of course, there's different steps that you can take to really understand how to drill deep into that visitor and understand more about them. The number one is, of course, you have to identify if you even need the research. Why am I conducting this in the first place? And then the second thing is, and this is something that we find a lot of companies are missing, is identify what's the goal? What am I supposed to achieve at the end of this? Once I've identified the goal, then I can identify exactly who I need to get this information from. It might not be all the visitors. So, when you kind of run a survey or a poll and you're just running it across everybody, all the different visitors that are coming to your website, you're missing out. Because if you target a specific group and you know exactly why I want these particular participants, you're going to be able to learn a lot more. Then you want to identify your personal bias. We had a client that they're a SaaS company, and they sell a mail subscription product. So, of course, I come in thinking, oh, I know everything that you need to know. I actually come from a family of 6. I have 4 brothers. I know everything about guys, right? And I have my husband, so I know everything you have to know. So as we were talking with the group, a lot of the team members that were males in my group were like, no, I really don't think that men would think this or would do this. So clearly, I had a bias that I wasn't aware of. So it's important that you identify what is the bias that you have when you're talking to these particular participants. And then don't limit your research methods. Make sure you have research methods that, again, like I'm doing customer interviews and I'm running polls and I'm running surveys. Each method provides me with insights. Each method's going to solve a specific problem for me. And then it comes to kind of just formatting. What am I going to ask the visitors exactly? I need to make sure that I'm formatting the questions correctly. And then, of course, what's very important is after I run whatever it is that I'm running, I want to make sure I analyze and propagate that data, because that's where I'm going to be really able to benefit the most. So this was actually a poll that we ran for an e-commerce site that sold these different accessories for cell phones. And so we asked people on the cart page, what is preventing you from moving forward with your purchase? So the visitors gave us a number of different answers. They said, we can't find the information that we need. We don't know if this product fits our phone, although every single product had within the title what phone it actually was for. They wanted a different color. They couldn't find the shipping costs, and they were just comparing prices. So we took that data, we plotted it, and again, for us, it's all about taking away the insights. And what are we going to do as a result of learning this information about our client? Some things require us to run an A/B test. Some things require us just to fix it. It just doesn't make sense that this information isn't readily available to the visitor. Some things require us to investigate further. Okay, this is giving me more reason to look into analytics and seeing what's happening with the visitor. And some, of course, require some sort of action. So we changed the design of the page, and we provided the benefits up front. We created an area where they could see exactly what phones this was compatible with. And again, we gave them more options so they can kind of see exactly what they were looking for. Then we conducted for a different client. This was more of a SaaS subscription for like kind of running your own radio show online, almost like a podcast. And what we did was we interviewed some of their potential customers, and we wanted to understand from them what was preventing them from signing up. So again, they gave us a number of different pieces of information. What stood out the most was that visitors felt that they were feeling rushed. they were feeling rushed. Everything was kind of like on one page, and they felt very rushed because although it wasn't a very expensive subscription, it was going to take them a lot of time and effort in order to create a radio show. So again, we plotted all of the data. We tried to understand what are we going to test, what are we going to fix, what are we going to investigate. And we created kind of a 2-page process. So rather than having a 1-page checkout, we created 2 pages because we were able to kind of provide them more information, get them more kind of situated with exactly what type of packaging they'd want. We also made kind of this free subscription stand out a lot more for the visitor, and we got a lot of amazing response as a result of this. We also created a clarified process. Now, I just want to note that when we got to this particular design, it went through multiple iterations. What I'm showing you is the final design that we came up with after a lot of different testing that we did. So when we talk about who are you targeting, you'll talk to a lot of when we talk to our clients, when we do kind of like a discovery phase, we'll ask them, who is the target market? We want to understand from their perspective who it is. We'll do our own investigation, but we want to understand from them what they think. And you get these broad answers. Oh, all males and all females, anybody that wants to, purchase from us. And we always tell them, it's people that are coming to your site might not fit this general criteria. You want to be really, really specific with who they are because the copy is going to change as a result of that. The offers are going to change as a result of that. Everything's going to change as a result of exactly who the target market is. Anybody familiar with Mad Men? Maybe? So this is Don Draper from Mad Men, and this is kind of it was a show that talked about these ad agencies in the 1940s in the US. And so he said, in the show, people tell you who they are, but we ignore it because we want them to be who we want them to be, right? We want them to be a certain way. We've designed the site for a certain type of visitor, but hey, guess what? These might not be our visitors. And this actually stood out to us. We were working with a billion-dollar company. Most of their clients went to their stores, so they had a lot of stores, and they had, of course, this e-commerce presence. So they assumed that all their visitors that were coming to their website were the people that actually would visit their stores. So we told them, you know what, that's okay. Let us just do our thing and let us run different experiments, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. It's an experiment, right? We're going to see whether or not we're able to achieve, increases in conversion rate. So the first experiment we launched with them, they were completely against it. They're like, no, our visitors do not behave this way. They're not going to like this. This is not going to achieve any goals. And then, of course, when we increased their conversion rates by 30%, they were just shocked. They knew that, oh, okay, so the visitors that are coming to our website might be a little bit slightly different than people that are coming to our stores. And that's very important to kind of keep in mind. But what's also important is, okay, I've identified the target market, but I also need to know what is the experience that brings people to my website. Remember, I'm not working within a silo. I'm not just looking at a website. I'm looking at the entire journey. I need to understand where they're coming from, what their experience is, and what brought them here. Because that's going to really help me understand what I need to do to make the experience even better. So whenever we look at optimizing, we try to think about, okay, every person that's coming to my website, they're either coming to answer a specific question that they have in mind, maybe they're looking for a particular product or service, maybe they're just coming to compare options. So again, I'm kind of mapping out what is bringing people to my site exactly. So we have 7 questions that we typically ask, and that is, what's the visitor intent coming to the website? What's the context of their visit? Where did they come from exactly? Where did their experience start? Where does the experience finish? So again, I'm trying to map out that customer journey from start to finish, understanding exactly what keywords that brought them to my website, what experience they had as a result of that, and really try to understand their journey overall. What are the visitors feeling entering? Do they respond positively or negatively? And again, you're using kind of analytics to give you an idea. I'm using my qualitative research to give me an idea in order for me to understand the answers to some of these questions. What's also important is based on where they're coming from, how brand aware are they? Because depending on how brand aware, the visit and the experience might be very different. And then where is the visitor in the buying funnel? Are they ready to buy? Are they people that are just browsing? Where are they exactly? And that gives me kind of a really good vision of where my visitors, what their experience really looks like. It really gives me kind of that overall customer journey. And I'm able then, depending on what I understand from the visitors, to kind of target specific experiences better or provide them with a better overall experience. So this is what it looks like. There's kind of like this Excel file that will plot all this information to kind of really understand where the visitor is coming from, depending on experience, the context, all of that. Lesson 3 is you want to kind of think outside of the box. So when we talk about kind of just the history of optimization, think about it, and this really applies to the US, Europe, a lot of these countries. We created these websites, we optimized for online transactions, and then mobile started becoming very popular, and we started creating these responsive websites on mobile. We took whatever we had on desktop, but we just made sure that it was mobile friendly, quote unquote, right? So this is the eBay app over the years, okay? So this is how it first started when they first launched their mobile app. As you can see, they have everything listed. They have the kind of the search area clearly listed there. And then it changed. They made, okay, well, what if we add these different elements? How is it going to look? And then changed really drastically at one point where they completely removed the old design and then went with a design that's completely different. Again, changes, small tweaks here and there, just trying to improve the experience overall. And it will go on and on how they completely changed the app for many years, right? So this is what it looks like. And when you look at all the designs, and you guys will kind of see these. I don't know if you're going to actually see that particular part, but you can see kind of the transition, how they moved from one point to the next. And there's small changes. There's nothing really major. But again, it's the idea that we took whatever we had on desktop and we just made it responsive on mobile. And then when you look at kind of retail prices, e-commerce prices, or sales, you see that, of course, it's a growing industry in the US. Nowadays, when we go to, we're hearing everywhere we go, we're always hearing about mobile first, because what's happening is this realization that actually people are using their mobile devices a lot more than they are desktop now. Most of our clients at this point in time, 70% of their traffic is coming from mobile and not coming from desktop. So that desktop, when we went from desktop to mobile, we kind of really lost that overall experience. But when you look at kind of China, and actually just recently they had a sale where within, I think it was a really small amount of time, like 87 seconds or something like that, they were able to reach $1 billion in sales, because when they created the mobile experience for their users, they thought of it strictly from the mobile experience. They didn't really think about desktop because they wanted to provide that mobile experience overall, and that's why they're really killing it when it comes to e-commerce sales. Where do I start? A lot of times people hear, number one is, you're working within an organization and your boss comes and I'm like, I really hate this particular design. I want you guys to change it. So it's like about putting out fires, and that's why I move forward with kind of creating a new design or creating a different experience for my visitors. But it should definitely never be like that. It's never about putting out fires. Every single marketing activity that I talked to you about today should be grounded in some sort of a process. Now, you kind of look at this guy. If he didn't have a process going, he would lose his hands, definitely. So everything that you do should have some sort of a process. It should be grounded in that. And a lot of companies will say, okay, we know that we need to have a process, but I really don't understand how. And so, what I provided you today hopefully gave you a little bit of an idea of what type of a process you have when it comes to conversion rate optimization. So I've done my qualitative research. I've done my quantitative research. I've run usability tests. I really understand who my visitor is. So what we do, and I'll provide you guys with an Excel sheet that you can plot this data in, is we prioritize where it is we're going to be working first. What are the first problems that we've identified on your website that we're going to actually be able to tackle first? Because when we've been collecting that data, we classify it. There's items, like I said, that are fixed right away. There are items that I need to add some tagging. I need to, be able to do some event tracking on. There are items that are research opportunity, which are essentially experiments, and there are items that I need to kind of investigate further overall. So all of those items together, that's where kind of my classification begins. I'm plotting all of this information to understand what I'm going to be tackling to begin with. And when we're talking about prioritization, there's a lot of factors that we consider. We actually consider 18 different factors when it comes to actually the problem itself. So it's really important to kind of plot this information and see where am I going to start when it comes to conversion rate optimization. You want to move away from things that are very, your personal opinion and very subjective to things that are more data-driven. Everything that you do when it comes to conversion rate optimization should be extremely data-driven. And so there's a number of different points. I'm not going to be able to get to them, but you guys will be able to see these in the slide. And then once you've kind of completed all of this, you've plotted all of this information, I have now a prioritization sheet. I know I'm going to start with this particular problem. This is what I'm going to tackle first. And then you can kind of come up with the solutions as a result of that. The final lesson that I have to you is threat awareness. When we talk about CRO, it really takes us back to almost like the scientific model, if you guys remember in the 8th grade. And that's really what the process is all about. It is extremely scientific, and it should be nothing less than that. So one thing that you see a lot is people run into what we call false positive and false negative. These are type 1 and type 2 errors. And this is because they don't understand how long a test should run. They don't understand also that it needs to reach a specific statistical significance. So this is what kind of like a sample hypothesis looks like. Again, because we have this particular feedback and this research that we've done, we expect this particular change to happen, and we're going to use this metric to measure it. So this is a hypothesis that we had actually for one of our clients, where we observed that visitors were leaving the cart before they actually made a purchase. And so we said by exposing free delivery earlier, and repeatedly on the site and on the cart itself, this will cause kind of a reduction in overall cart abandonment rate. So this is what it looked like before, where we didn't have that information plotted for the visitor. And then we added free delivery, cancel at any time, and also that they could adjust their delivery as they wanted. So you want to kind of measure and set aggressive goals in order to see those, again, 25, 35, 45% increase in conversion rates. Jeff Bezos says our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, and per day. What's reported to us is that this is like old data, that they conduct almost 7,000 experiments a year, and I'm sure it's more than that now. And this is a really great sheet that kind of gives you a good overview of how to plot your test data. There's actually from Intuit. And then there's actually another sheet, if you guys get these slides afterwards, that has an example of how you would plot this information. And then finally, a special gift from me to you is a complete conversion optimization startup kit. This includes the prioritization sheet that I already showed you. It also has an A/B testing guide that you can download and get a lot of really excellent information from. Thank you. Stay connected. And thank you for being such an amazing crowd.